Do you sometimes go into a tavern and see a crap ton of people cluttering the place, spamming the chat with text in between quotes, and ask yourself, what is going on here? Hi, this is Luna Grump, and today I will explain to you what is RP. So, what exactly is RP? RP stands for Roleplay. It's imagining yourself in the skin of your character. It's knowing their past, their goals, their struggles, their emotions, their vision of the world they live in. To be able to do that, not only must you think of a background for your character, but also understand the world they live in. How is your character perceived by others, and how does he perceive them? Those are things that you can think about before jumping into RP. I will not lie, before stepping into the shoes of your character, it is better that you have a basic understanding of the lore of the game you're planning to roleplay in. Yes, roleplaying requires a good chunk of reading. After all, an orc from World of Warcraft will not have the same backstory as a gnome of that same universe. Both have different cultures, interests, language, traditions, you get the gist of it. Although, someone creative can deviate from the norm, but for the sake of this video, we'll stick with the general idea and not the exception. And don't worry, there are a ton of information about the game you're playing when it comes to the lore. A quick Google search should give you some information, just like you can probably find some lore videos on YouTube. If you want, you can also buy the books if those exist for your game, but they can come at a large cost if you have to get a few of them. I know what you're thinking right now. Why put so much energy into something that cannot be calculated by performance inside a game? After all, roleplay is not going to give me any mount to loot. And the answer to that is quite simple. Because it is fun. Roleplay allows you to go to a deeper level of immersion, to pay attention to the story and the world, to see another perspective as you try to put yourself into the head of an imaginary character. Best of all, it creates content without the intervention of the developers. Imagine infinite content. And for that, you need other players. So let's talk community. The roleplayers are usually a very niche community of a game, usually representing a small percentage of the population. It is probably the reason why they usually regroup themselves around specific servers. Some games dedicate servers for such communities, but for others, like Final Fantasy XIV, those servers were selected by the community themselves without the help of the developers. For someone who is interested in RP, this is probably a good starting point. Study your community. Roleplayers usually have central sites, where people can post their guilds, events, character profiles, lore, etc. I will link some of them in the description below for those who are curious. Don't hesitate to ask questions. We're always happy when someone is interested in dipping their toes into roleplay. If you're too shy to ask in the forum, you can always go in the RP server of your game and quietly observe people's interaction. This concludes this video, but this was only a brief introduction into this hobby, explaining what it is and why we do it. Next time, I will talk about etiquette and rules of roleplay. See you then! Bye bye!